yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. You got it. Again, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out. And we're on the 4-year anniversary of this pandemic. How did you survive it, and how did it change you?
Well, it's interesting because I went through such a big transition right before the pandemic where, a company and an industry that I started 35 years, Steiner Sports, I'm not there anymore. So I started this new company, CollectibleXchange. Before you know it, here I am just starting from scratch, literally 60 years old, starting these two new companies. And nobody could come to work, and obviously I was a little tripped out about the whole thing. It was very complicated. But what I did is I took action over anxiety. We got everybody to come into work every day, which is outrageous. We spread out, and we got in. And what's crazy is we got more done probably because of this, because nobody was in a rush to go anywhere. I had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Why sit home and just watch TV all day? Although I did watch a lot of good TV, I put a huge amount of time in, getting a company set up. It's different when you're getting a company set up versus when you're trying to get a company, which I'm in now, trying to grow it, trying to move it, trying to roll, expand, diversify. You're just trying to get a lot of basic stuff done, just kind of figuring out where the bathroom is and getting the lights on and getting the stationery and getting the logos. And so as much as it was really, really daunting to be in this situation where now I'm starting a brand new company, on the other hand, I had the ability to really focus because, my wife was not going to let me work 24 hours a day and all this, but we had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So it kind of kept me busy. So it was a really interesting time for me also because it gave me a little perspective about what I had accomplished, what I had done with my old company. And I think in order to move forward, you really have to have a tremendous amount of gratitude, regardless of where you're at for the past. You got to put the past to rest. You got to kind of get your arms around it. Even if some bad things are happening in the past, you got to really kind of find some joy and find gratitude in sometimes the worst thing that's happened to you. So for me, I was able to look back on my career because I had that moment of without distraction. Everybody was so freaked out. There wasn't a whole lot. And I was able to really see things kind of clearly about what I had done and also a little bit what I want to do. It was a really interesting moment of a stoppage of time. And for a guy like me, it's really hard for me to slow down. And there was no choice.
Yeah. So
I slowed down.
yeah, no, I get it. And the world had to slow down. We had to fall into line. So let me ask you this. As an entrepreneur, you're a speaker, you're a thought leader, but right now in 2024, if you were in front of a bunch of third graders, it's career day, and one of the kids said, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
Well, I answer very simply. I said, first of all, I'm a promoter and a marketer. There's no question. And I'm probably one of the top sports marketers as far as marketing athletes. And yeah, I'm extremely well known for being able to buy, sell, and create sports memorabilia. I'm able to book talent. I've secured over 35 million autographs. I've booked, tens of thousands of appearances and all kinds of different, from speaking to PR, all kinds of different advertising, and all kinds of things with hundreds and hundreds of athletes. I don't know anybody who's done more of that than me, just because I've done it in such a widespread approach. I'm a talent. I'm somebody that I'm a celebrity talent guy that really has figured out a million ways to make money on celebrities, particularly sports celebrities. So I tell a third grader, it's like I'm in a specialized field. I became a really good promoter and marketer way before I got into the specialization of the sports field. So I tell third graders, like, I know the specialization always looks good, but the process is getting to be really good at a certain part of life or business. You could be a great artist, but you got to get a hand, you got to draw, you got to go through all the processes, and then you can become a specialized graphic designer or a special type of artist that you want to be. So for me, I was, I was going hand to mouth, man, street by street, starting at 10 years old, promoting, marketing, and went through all the ABCs of some really just hardcore, really simplistic marketing principles. and that enables me to go do the things I'm doing now. I don't struggle to come up with marketing and promotional ideas, and I don't think that many people can come up with some of the better ideas that I come up with on the sports end. But that's the background.
So this has been in your DNA. You said you started at 10, so you knew that this was the route you were gonna get into. And was it always sports?
No, I mean, I just knew that I was going to be a great promoter and marketer because I was hustling around the neighborhood and doing stuff that most of the other kids had no idea what I was doing and were not even close. I just started, I sprinted way ahead of anybody who was in my age bracket on that end. It was a struggle to get through school, but I believed in school. I like education. I think school is a good thing. I'm still a pro school person. It was just a struggle for me. I didn't do well in the classroom. Things sometimes moving too slow. Had a learning disability. Still have problem reading and writing, but I knew that the learning process was really really important, and school taught me how to do that because people get confused about school. They think school is going to give you the path to get this amazing job. Sure, if you want to become a lawyer or a doctor in some professional field, but most people that go to school, really what it does is gives you the beginning and the end of how to get behind something, learn about something, and it initiates you to go into the real world and understand the importance of learning. And that's been the best blessing for me is like I wasn't a big school guy. My mother talked me into it, and then I got into it. But I still feel at 65 years old, I'm in school. I'm incredibly curious, trying to learn every day. And if you're not going to grow and you're going to be miserable.
So you obviously have some pretty good merchandise behind you there. You got a Steph Curry jersey, you got a Derek Jeter batting glove. So I'm curious, what was the first thing that you got? Autograph, memorabilia, what was the first one that you got that really got your heart racing? You were like, "I can't
Well,
believe I
it's
got it."
funny because I mean I've done secured so many different things, but the thing that really got my attention as a kid, getting an autograph was such a big deal. So I knew when I got in the business, I know how important it was and what the feeling was as a 11-year-old to get an autograph. But when I was 15, I was in Boston. My mother had taken me up to a Yankee Red Sox game. It was a big deal. And I begged her to go. We were supposed to go on a Friday night. I begged her to go to the game on Thursday night. I went by myself. I was 14 or 15 at the time. And I was screaming at Thurman Munson. I'd scalp this ticket in the fourth row. I'd hustling and scalp, a single ticket. And Thurman wouldn't even give me wouldn't look, wouldn't turn, nothing. And then when I got back to the hotel, which I was staying at the Yankee Hotel, smart,
Yes.
and in the elevator walks in Thurman Munson. And he just looks at me and goes, "What do you want?" Screaming at me at the game. I was like, and then he signed my program. That was the first autograph that I had a real profound effect on me. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I never thought I was going to be in anything to do with autographs or even sports for that matter. Because growing up, there was really, even in college, there was no sports business to really get into. So when I got into this business, I was really thinking about just booking. And really, what I did the first 5 years or 6 years in my business was just booking athletes, going to companies, going, I got a good idea. I think I can help you grow your business. I think I can use this app, help you use this athlete to get more traction, get more people to your trade show booth, get more people to your store, that kind of thing. And I was literally doing hundreds of appearances a year in the first 5, 6 years I was doing business. But back in the late 80s and early 90s, the players aren't getting the kind of money they're getting now. I was booking Magic Johnson for $5,000. Most appearances were, 1,000, 2,000, 2,500. Every now and then you got a $5,000 appearance, you made $1,000. And then once in a while you got a $10,000 appearance, you made $1,500. And then it got to a certain point, I wasn't making as much money, even though I was doing a lot of appearances, and that kind of pushed me to get into the memorabilia thing, where I was kind of coming up with these memorabilia ideas on a B2B level. It was like, hey, come to this trade show, get a free autographed ball. I was just trying to give these autographed items to these corporate people. They're trying to get a meeting. Hey, send the ball ahead of time. Hope you're looking forward to my pitch. That kind of stuff. I wasn't thinking that I was going to create a brand and going to go create a memorabilia industry that people would be buying and selling and using my name. It's outrageous, but I'm very grateful. It's outrageous when I think about it. I'm glad that my Steiner stuff is everywhere. Now it's CollectibleXchange. But it's funny, like in this new company, having done what I did, then I'm like disrupting what I did because I've created kind of like a marketplace like eBay where people can buy and sell their trading cards on my sister site, Star Stock, 1.5 million trading cards. And then you got CollectibleXchange, it's got 100 and something thousand items on there. So I'm trying to give people an opportunity now to sell all the stuff that they bought and have and acquired and saved, and they can kind of buy and sell in a safe environment.
So did this market really explode during the pandemic? I noticed that I have a son that does cards and things just really seem like they ramped up.
It did. It ramped up. It scares me as a leader in the industry because I feel like what happens sometimes when you get a market that really takes off and explodes, you get taken advantage of. Now that was not the only industry. If you bought watches, cars, things were really exploding. But there's a lot of cards that got bought and sold at way, way too high a price. Those people will never get their money back. And that bums me out. I hate to see kids that are potential collectors spend their hard earned gift money, bar mitzvah money, and then now they're never going to get their money back. They're going to be sour about the industry. I'm always now we can grow the industry. I want kids to go get a card for $100 and realize they could turn around and sell for 5. I
Yeah.
think it's a tremendous entrepreneurial lesson. But during the pandemic, between what some of the card companies did and some of the more experienced card people, they took advantage of the market. And I've written about it and I've spoke about it because that's just never been my way. I think when you get an up market, you can feed that market, certainly take advantage of it, but do not scam people and do not take people in a direction where there's no coming back from because
Yeah.
you lose them. And it's hard to go build a market. It's hard to grow it. And as an industry leader, that's your job. Your job is to make the business bigger and better than when you found it. And to go in there and just take advantage of people who are sitting at home, they had a lot of money, they didn't know what to do with it, is irresponsible. And I've taken those people, and I'm about to get more into it as I start my new show on eBay. I'm doing an eBay show live, an eBay live show multiple times a week on their channel. And it's going to be an educational channel for me. My show will be educational, bringing in experts and trying to explain to people how the business really works.
Yeah.
Good, the bad, the ugly. And I feel that's really needed because I think that a lot of people jumped into this business, like your son, without really fully understanding how it works. And
Yeah.
listen, you make a few bucks all of a sudden you think you hit the lotto, and then you realize that maybe not so fast.
Yeah. Well, he comes from pretty good stock. When I was a kid, I used to call hotels. I remember getting Conseco on the phone one time, Wade Boggs. My friend got a bat from Marty Barrett back in '86. So we were
Love it.
hounds. Yeah, that was when Bo Jackson was at Royal Stadium. So we were really into it. But all the stuff that I got, none of it was certified. So no one can certify it. It was in the '80s and none of it came through, but it was fun. I mean, those guys, there seemed to be kind of an innocence to the idea of getting an autograph.
But I would take your stuff now and certify it. There's
Okay,
so many people like you, and then they send me their stuff, and I get it certified depending on the authenticator that
okay,
that matches up,
okay.
which is really valuable. Good for you, though.
Yeah, it was
Love that
fun, man.
hustle.
And I'm a Chiefs fan, so I used to grow up watching them at the training camp at William Jewell College in Liberty, Missouri. They're in St. Joe now, but that was, no one went there, and we just would watch these behemoths.
Couple
That,
hundred people there. The
yeah,
players stop, talk to you.
yeah,
You
it was
ran on the
great.
field. You grabbed the game, used football. Like now, oh my god, it's like
It's a
we went on a
circus.
field. We stole one of the guys' helmets. It's like it's unbelievable. Like you can't even get near there.
Yeah, no, you can't do any of that. I started watching that show Golden Auctions on
Yeah.
Netflix, and I'm amazed at the amount of things that are out there and the collectors that exist. This whole world is just a menagerie of doors that just keep opening up. It's amazing, you know?
Well, the fun thing is, I'm not a fan. I know Ken Golden, know him well. I've been dealing with him for over 25 years, but I'm not. See that a show like that, you gotta. It doesn't feel right.
I
It's
get
like
it.
it looks like you're getting scammed. It looks like he's hustling you. Like those are shows you're supposed to put on the happy face, not show the inside workings. Like if we saw the inside workings of Nike and
Yeah,
saw what it really costs to make a pair of sneakers in China and the actual cost of marketing, we'd all be pissed off and how we're
yeah.
getting scammed. So are we going to do a show on how Nike sneakers get made? Is Nike any good? It's like, for Ken to do that, as knowledgeable as he is, he should be educating people
Yeah.
and also creating good deals for people. Not like, how do we get this binning up there? Because remember, yeah, you put the thing up to sell it, but there's someone on the other end buying it going, wow, maybe I'm getting ripped off.
Yeah. Sure.
So the name of the game is to create win-win. Sell it at a really good price, buy it at a really good price. So the seller feels good and the buyer wants to spend more money. And I feel like that show is, I've been asked to do a show like that 100 times. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Not unless I can put on a happy face. Although I did a show, you know, the hookup for 10 years where we go and surprise people with collectibles and try to help kids in the hospitals, redo
Yeah.
man caves. The goodness of the show, the goodness of what the hobby can do,
Yeah.
the fun of the hobby, not just the grit and the grind of how to make a dollar. It's because the business is still a hobby. It's my take on it. But so when you get the opportunity to get in the media and the press, as I am right now, it's like, how do you put a good feeling on it and educate people so
Yeah.
that they can do well?
Yeah.
Because when those people do well, I'm going to do well.
Yeah.
And that's how I built my name and my brand over the years, man. I don't sell people stuff and not really giving a hoot that they're ever going to make money, at least get their money back. I'm not guaranteeing they're going to make a fortune on stuff, although I think people have done really well with my product lines I've put out. But you got to have some accountability and responsibility if you want to be a leader in the industry. Ken gets an opportunity to do that show, and it's disappointing. Like, I'm like, seriously? You're riding around in private planes, but you think people want to come and see me riding around in private planes
Yeah.
and see my basketball court in my house or whatever? I do that. Like,
Yeah.
people want to know that you're out looking out for them.
Yeah.
That's what I should be want to have, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I remember as a kid, after the Royals won the World Series in '85, I used to go to the golf course and meet these guys. And most of the guys were cool. George Brett was a little odd. Willie Wilson was, he really got upset with me at one time because I asked him for duplicate autographs. But I guess my question to you is, what's the general nature of these star athletes now? Are they welcoming you and others that are putting memorabilia out there? What's their kind of philosophy?
Well, here's the main problem is they haven't had that. The big name stars, they don't want to disappoint kids and people, but they're confused because you got all these runners and they're getting hit in so many directions and they know their autograph's worth money and they don't know what to sign and what not to sign.
Yeah.
So it's confusing for them. And also, like, the amount of responsibility now on a professional athlete is made different than when we were kids. The amount of time that guys are expected and women expected to be working on that craft, watching film, going to the game is much, much, much longer. It's much more of a 12-month a year thing. So these players are away from their families a lot. So going to sign some autographs or going to make an appearance is definitely not on top of their list. It's gotten difficult. Now you
Yeah.
go through phases of it, but right now, the leagues and these teams, most of the players, even the mediocre ones, are making a lot of money. So it's getting harder and harder to book them and do things with them. But I tell a lot of my players when they ask me about the autographs, we just having this conversation the other day. I was in Australia and I'm trying to work on this rugby thing. It was just Monday. And I was like, look, you have to tell the players that a lot of times the kids that are there that seem innocent, they're running for collectors. They're runners. They hire 10, 12, 15-year-old kids. They get the autographs. Who's going to say no to them? They take them, give them $20 to sell them, I think, for 100 or $200. But I said, personalize everything.
Yeah.
I said, if your player is sensitive and doesn't want to walk away from kids, just personalize everything.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's much harder to sell the personalized autograph. And then
Uh-huh.
those autograph hunters will move away from you. Because
Yeah.
once they know you're a sucker and you're going to sign, like Derek Jeter one time came to my office. I go, how was spring training? He goes, oh, great. How was the luncheon you did? Great. I said, you signed 200 autographs? 200 autographs for a collector. No. I said, yeah. The 5 kids that were coming up to your table and they kept coming, which you weren't paying attention. You signed almost 200 autographs because the guy came to me and tried selling me the autograph.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful now because everybody knows now that this stuff's worth money.
Yeah. What's the one thing in your collection, your personal collection, that you'll never get rid of? Your coveted piece?
Well, it's funny you say that, but when I started this new company, I had probably 7 or 8,000 items and several thousand autograph cards. I used this company to start with my collection, so I have sold a lot of my stuff. I didn't keep a lot. I feel like I want to get onto the new venture, and all this stuff that I had was stuff I've created, and I don't want to get caught up with what I did. I want to get caught up with what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I needed to get all that kind of out of my face. I didn't want to be, because I use that as a brainstorming to have that around me. Now I got blank walls in my big sports room. But the one item that I haven't sold, which is funny because I've sold some of my favorite stuff, is my Bobby Mercer game used bat. I love Bobby Mercer. He was
Yeah.
my favorite player as a kid. He was a great Yankee. He's not the biggest name or anything like that, but that's kind of my guy.
Yeah.
And then I have a photo of Mark Messier holding the cup, which is how I started the memorabilia division of my company with Mark Messier. He was my first player to sign. He's still one of my close clients and friends. And I'm not getting rid of that. Where he writes to Brandon, we did it. And I knew I could sell a lot of that photo because you know how Ranger fans are. In '94, they were waiting 54 years before we won a cup. So it was a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. So do you still have that excitement, that childhood adrenaline fascination that you always have had with this as the years and decades have gone on? Are you still always excited to do this?
I'm excited about creating the product. The hard part of the business is I can create product all day. That's side of my brain. I have so many things I'd love to do, but I've also recognized that there's some great collectors and really creative people out there. Instead of me going to create the electricity, I'm a little more interested in being the meter. And I've really kind of zoned in on a lot of collectors around the country and really started enjoying some of their creations. But it's still the platform that's everything. Like you have to have the customers. So as much as I'd like to create, I've been on a little bit of a creative halt, definitely not creating as much as I used to because I've got to go build the platform up. And I'm about three quarters there.
Yeah.
It's when I left Steiner, I left a lot of the platform behind me. So to go get you're gonna have the customers and get their attention. Know that there's a new platform. Know there's a new, that I moved to a new company. So I'm moving along, but there's never a shortage of the creative energy and the enthusiasm behind it. There's no shortage to that. When that happens, I'll stop doing it. I don't need to do this. I don't got to do this. I get to do this. Like this is
Yeah.
a privilege to do what I do, and it's amazingly grateful that people still buy the things that I'm creating and coming up with.
Yeah.
I sold like $1.5 million of the Syracuse roof on the dome, and they took it down and they put a regular roof on there. I'm working right now on the Florida State bricks. Now I can tell Tallahassee, like I'm not a Florida State grad, but everybody knows those bricks when you look at that stadium.
Yeah.
And 600 bricks will come out with a product line around that. So I love those kind of projects, and I'm working on a lot of oddball, unusual things I haven't done before. Rugby, cricket. I never watched a cricket game. I just spent a month getting tutorials on cricket, and that game is not easy. But in America, we don't think much of it, but that's an extremely popular game.
Yeah.
It's as popular almost as like the NFL, maybe more.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get into things that kind of challenge me and get my brain really thinking, as opposed to just doing the same old thing.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this, you're like when I think about the third graders, you're in a pretty pri prime position where these kids are looking at you like, wow, like if they saw Steph Curry and Derek and all this, and you've talked about meeting these guys, is there an athlete out there that you have a relationship with that the public just doesn't understand? That's a cool cat that you hang out with, that is very personable, but the court of public opinion for some reason can't grasp that this is a good human being?
I think there's a ton of them. I think that the players are a lot more educated today versus 35 years ago about how their image and how their brand and how important it is, and making sure that everything they do, realizing that there are repercussions, good or bad, on them. Was not always the case, but everyone knows that they're one click and a pick away from having a problem, and they're one click away from becoming the nicest guy on the planet. But there are a lot of guys that are like misunderstood. I always think like Patrick Ewing, for example,
Yeah.
very misunderstood guy. One of the great teammates. You never hear a teammate say a bad word. He just wasn't like into being the whole public thing. But great guy, phenomenal guy.
Yeah.
And then you get a guy like Messier, where everybody knows he's like one of the greats, leaders, the captain. So some guys get it. Mark was extremely articulate about his brand, who we worked with, who he hung out with, and what he did, and who he did it with. So there's that kind of thinking. I think there's a lot of players that get worn out now because there's so much media attention, and everything they do gets publicized. They're kind of worn out, and they just completely divert, and they don't want anything to do with anything. And that's kind of a bummer because they have such a strong influence on those third graders and kids, and they can make such a big difference, which is what it's all about.
Yeah.
So, it's funny you mentioned about the third graders because as I speak around the country, I have 3 books, and I talk a lot about leadership and entrepreneurship and sales. And I've started going into some. I know it sounds crazy, but I've gone into some like fourth and fifth grade classes and talk about leadership. It's like we are hurting this country on leadership. I mean, from Matt,
Yeah.
we need everyone to take on a leadership position, not just the corner office, not just the person who's a multi-gazillionaire, which we were all thinking, let the millionaire donate the money for the charity. No, no, we all can help a charity, whether it's $1, $10, or an hour of your time.
Yeah.
And I think that some of those messages are getting lost because people aren't going to work every day. They're not together, not collaborating. And that's usually when you come up with those projects
Yeah.
where, somebody's doing this, somebody's doing that. So what I've been urging a lot of my friends to do is like get into grade schools, go and talk to fifth, sixth graders. They're still so vulnerable, and teach them about leadership and talk about the impact they can have on the world. And I go and have contests with the kids about leadership and who their favorite leaders are and why, and teach them about leadership. And what's crazy is that when I go do these talks like the corporate America, with successful people, I give the same talk to the fifth graders. And then the fifth grade teacher says to me, he goes, do you talk to a lot of fifth grade classes? I'm like, all the time. I just get paid a lot more to do it because I think the conversation is the same.
Yeah.
It's like, get active. Like, you're on this planet for 2 reasons: to get better, grow, which you should be trying to get your company to be better. You're trying to be better. I always call your rate of growth, be a rose,
Yeah.
rate of self effectiveness, and then help others.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I'm nervous because when people aren't going back to the office, it gets a little harder, like to help others, because those projects usually come. Somebody's in the office and then, hey, by the way, I'm going to a food bank. I'm going to help a Boy Scout group, and then and there's less and less of that kind of collaboration now and fundraising going on, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, for sure. So of all of these things that you've done in your life so far and evolved into and learned and grown, what are you the proudest of?
Well, I'm proud of that. My kids still like me. We raised 3 really good kids. One of them we adopted, and I still like my wife. My wife still likes me. I think come from a broken home, had a pretty dysfunctional one, and to have somewhat of a functional home that makes sense. I'm extremely proud of that,
Yeah.
and I'm also proud that the amount of I've had a lot of employees, and as the boss, I've come to realize that you're just never going to be the favorite person. You always think like how much this, and your employees are always not going to always love your boss. But I am proud of the amount of teaching and how much I've taught a lot of employees over the years, and now they're doing some really good work. And I'm proud of the charity work and some of the differences I've made with a whole bunch of charities that I've been able to use my money from. I use all my money from speaking in the books to help charities. I'm just not one of those guys. Like my wife goes to the food bank. She goes to a school once or twice a week and actually helps kids read and is a teacher's assistant, all volunteer. I'm just not doing it. I don't want to do it. But I raised money. I would say, honey, how much is it going to cost to redo the library in that school you're going to teach at? And I'll go raise the money for that.
Yeah.
And I'm just better at that. So, all the money for my speaking, the books, when I sell them, they go to charity. And so I've been able to raise a lot of money and hopefully make a difference. And that's what I'm good at. I'm not, I try to show up when I can to charity events and help, but it's not my specialization. I'd say that's what I'm the most proud of. I mean, I'll let the other people decide about the business, about the effect I've had, on the collectible business and on business in general as an entrepreneur. Hopefully, I've had a good effect, but I let those other people make the judge as far as the impact I've had. But what I do know for sure is that the business and the industry that I got into is much better than when I found it.
Yeah.
And that's a very, very serious goal of mine. Like if you go to work in an industry and a company, when you leave, it should be better than when you found it.
Yeah.
That's otherwise like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just walking through air. Like, what are you doing? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So that's always been that's always been something on my mind, even since I'm a kid. That's something my mother ingrained in me. Is make sure this planet's better than when you found it.
For sure. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, but you run the show. What's your perception of you?
I mean, I think I'm a generous person overall. I try to help as many people as I can. I'm a hustler, no question. I'm relentless. And I'm a good husband and dad. It means a lot to me to be one, and I'm still a work in progress. I have my wife's tough, so I'm always trying to rate myself like on a scale of 1 to 10. Am I like a 10 as a husband, or am I a 5? I'm trying to creep up there, man. But I think to me, like, being a good dad and being a good husband, and I'm also working on trying to be a better boss. Like, I don't think I was the greatest boss. I'm a tough boss in my old company, particularly. I've learned to try to be a lot more have a lot more empathy, and learn to really be a better boss. Have a lot more empathy to my employees, and be a better listener. I think that when you're managing a lot of people and your company gets big and things are really growing, you really have to make a conscious effort to stay connected to your people. And I'm trying to do that in this process. I'm trying to enjoy this process with my employees, as opposed to just pushing about growth and just pushing everybody to just sell more and do more. And I have a much more enjoyable office, frankly, because of it. So maybe that comes from working for a big company that bought me,
Yeah.
and they put a lot of pressure on you. So I'll never do that again. But I would tell people that are listening out there, if you go work for a big company, the money grabs, we always oppressed to do the big thing, not the right thing. And that comes with the territory. So, you're making the bed you're going to sleep in.
Yep.
To me, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm going to grow. I'm a hustler, but I
Yeah.
want to grow on my terms. I want to grow the right way. I'm going to grow with my people.
Absolutely. So, Brandon, if anyone wants to tune into the eBay show that you had mentioned, your books, anything, your memorabilia, your world, where do they go?
I mean, the eBay live show is going to be amazing. We did a test a few weeks ago, and then we'll kick it off in a couple weeks with Patrick Ewing and then Mariano Rivera next month, and a whole bunch of players. I'm a big LinkedIn guy. You got to follow me because I'm over the number, but I post a lot of content on LinkedIn, and then my Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, I'm an active poster. For a 65-year-old, I put myself right up there. I mean, I post multiple times a day. Matter of fact, today I will shoot at least 3 or 4 live videos. I may go live. I've had some really young mentors, some kids that have mentored me, which I made really good friends with some kids in high school and college that have really taught me over the last 10 years how to be more active on social. And, going back to something you said at the beginning, like, it's funny, when the virus happened, I'm so grateful for these young kids that got me going live. I didn't want to do it. So
Yeah.
they're constantly in my office, we got to go live. We got to go live. We got to videotape this. So when the virus happened, I was doing all my speeches like I'm doing, talking to you now. And I was real comfortable just talking in a camera, and so you never know, like, what one struggle, how it leads to something that could be
Yep.
really cool down the road. And I enjoy doing that. I enjoy sharing the experiences. I'm not going online talking about something that happened 10 years ago. Like, I see a lot of influencers, like, yeah, I mean, they put out good motivational stuff, but the last time they actually worked was like they can't remember.
Yeah.
And I hate that. I'm like, and it's one of the reasons why I like Gary Vee, because he's still working for a living. He's running a really big agency, and he's talking about the shit that's happened to him yesterday.
Yeah.
When I go and speak, I'm talking about stuff that happened an hour ago.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of all the same rhetoric that the people that are listening in the middle of. I'm trying to make a sale. I'm trying to deal with an employee problem. I'm trying to work on a couple of banking issues, and I think it bums me out that some of the really, really good entrepreneurs and really people that are really great in business wait till way after their career is over, start talking about it, because it's a lot more relevant when you talk about it. And that's what I try to post, stuff that happened now,
Yeah.
today, yesterday. And,
Yeah.
I think it's more helpful for people. And I'm enjoying the interaction I have on my social with people.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're enjoying the interaction of stuff that I post.
Yeah. I have no doubt. Brandon, this has been wonderful. So nice to meet you, man. Keep doing all the good work.
Pleasure.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
I didn't realize I was going to be talking to a collector, man. It's been a pleasure talking to you. I like the hustle, man.
Yeah.
I can see you got the grind in you, man.
Oh, yeah.
Good for
I it
you.
they it that those childhoods where I would write all these letters to all these guys, Lasorda, all the guys would come through. I remember
Love
getting
it.
a Willie Stargell card. I mean, those were the times. I would
How
shake
great is
going.
that Willie Stargell autograph? My top 5 greatest autographs. You can read every letter perfect,
Wow. I mean, I used to shake
right?
going to the mailbox. Yeah, no, I had Carl Hubble send me one. He was 89 when he signed it, and you could just
Wow.
see. So yeah, we have a kindred spirit, my man. So
I'll
it
hopefully look you up when I get to Kansas City. We get to some Oklahoma Joe's, get some
ah,
ribs.
it's a must, man. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank
You
you.
too, man.
Talk
You
to
bet.
you.
Take care.